is full with rotten paper. No one ever saw it clearer. Judging the content, never miss a moment. All impressive information we discuss with every nation.
Within the archive, we have a number of supporting documents. These are really documents that help us to understand what we have, both from a paper point of view, but also a little bit from a digital point of view, particularly around books and magazines. This spreadsheet contains quite a number of books, some of which we have, some of which we don't have. And as new books are released and published, they're added to the list to ensure that we've got a fairly reasonable record of aircraft books that relate to particularly our area of interest. So we have the usual information: titles, authors, publishers, dates, ISBN numbers. But the thing that is, for us, is important is where the book is located. So it's either in Germany with Achim, or it's in the UK with me. Those that are digital books are clocked as in the archive. So as you can see, between Achim and I, we have quite a collection of books. And if we go through and look at locations, between us we've got 713 books of a possible 2,190. So we don't have every book, but we work on it. The next document I want to explain is really this list of Fokker photographs. These are the factory photographs done by Fokker. There's a significant number of them, approaching 15, 16, 1700, maybe more. We're not exactly sure how many photographs there are, but these are the ones we have in the archive. The list was originally compiled by Fritz Grieston, and of course Peter Gross also added his bits and pieces to it, and I've modified it to fit what we have within the archive. Now we have color coding in place, so yellow for suspected data, color for small, and for unknown numbers, or where a photograph has no number at all. Orange for things that are missing, and there are quite a few missing. B for the back of the image, because we sometimes have postcards that have photos from the front and the back. And of course D for double numbering, because we've got a few photographs that have got more than one number on them. And interesting enough, even some photographs that have got the same number on them, but different photographs. So all makes it a little bit confusing. For those items that are missing, in most cases we have no idea what the photo is or where it fits within the sequence. Sometimes we can be reasonably suggestive about what it might be. So this one here, 420, might well be one of the E-series images, but we don't really know. And equally, 421, we've got E1, but no additional information on it. So these comments need to be generated at some point. Here we've got a photograph that is considered a little bit suspect. We really don't know if this actually fits very well, but detailed investigation of 444 might actually give us a clue as to whether it's a valid photograph, or in fact whether it is 03.61. So you can see that we've got quite a few gaps in the list of photographs, and this gets worse as we go towards the higher numbers. If I just go down to some of the higher numbers. One of the other things about the Fokker photographs is that not necessarily numerically in sequence, which makes it a bit of a challenge when we're trying to work out what some of the photographs might be. So here we have a sequence of photos from 1344 to 1350. We have no idea what they are. Absolutely none. Above it is V27 and below it is V5. So could be pretty much anything really. And as we go further down, the gaps become bigger and bigger. So one of the things we'd very much like to do within the archive is to capture and store the images we don't have, because it'll give us a complete record. Now, if that's ever going to happen, I don't know, but we hold out hope that there are these photographs somewhere and someone has got them. But we've collected quite a few over the time. Most of them have come from various sources, private collectors, but also from the Museum in the Netherlands, where they hold the Fokker archive. I went recently to scan every single image that they had in the time frame that we're working with, up until 1920. And even so, there are still lots of gaps, and they don't know where the photographs are either. So, a bit of a challenge. But we also have a whole range of unnumbered images, which we think are Fokker images because they have the same kind of style and very much workshop orientated. And there's quite a number of those. And again, if we could actually tie them to a particular Fokker number, that would be pretty impressive. We've got 278 of them at the moment. So with the 1500 odd on the other side that are numbered, we've got quite a collection of Fokker photographs. And these photographs are very, very useful for interpreting what's going on with a particular aeroplane. The last document I want to describe is Fokker's production list. Now, this was collated from a wide range of sources, both from the Fokker archive in the Netherlands, but also from World War I Aero, from private collectors and various other people who were interested in this particular field. So hopefully what it's aimed at is really to list all the works numbers up until 1920, 21, against their military numbers, Fokker's model number, the model type, and information about things like when was it ordered, when was it accepted by the factory, who was the test pilot, what engine, what serial number, but also a whole range of other data. Now, again, the yellow squares indicate that this has some conflicting data, and I'd much rather display both pieces of data on the premise that it gives people an understanding that possibly one or the other piece of data is correct, and I'm not going to count which one it is. So if we go further along, we may have machine gun serial numbers, we might have information about when it went to repair and been shipped, military accepted, what service unit it went to, which pilot it was actually assigned to, and it might have some information about the fate of the machine, who was the pilot, whether it's an incident report associated with it, other information and documents. If we've got a particular Fokker factory photograph, which in this case we don't for this particular models, and then we've got other photographs and then references to the various documents in our source file that actually give us an indication of where some of this information comes from. So for this particular aircraft, references 4, 58 and 91 are the ones used for this particular aircraft. Of course, we don't know every single aeroplane that was produced by Fokker. We don't know information about every aeroplane. So here's a whole pile of works numbers that have no information whatsoever. We don't know what they relate to. There might be a clue in that the one above it at 2270 is actually an AEG C4. It could be possible that the rest of these numbers relate to that model, but we're not 100% sure. We really don't know. So obviously we have the source information, which again lists the title of the document, who the author is, where it comes from, whether it's digital or otherwise. We also have a list of each of the models with their predominant engine and what prop they might use. And equally we have all the other prop information and makers. So if people ask about information about a particular airplane, they say, well, what prop is used on a Mercedes 160 horsepower engine? We can say, right, well, there's a different number of manufacturers for that. We can list that out for them without any issues at all. So I hope by explaining these three key documents that it gives you an indication of some of the background information that's been held in the archive. Now, each of these documents in their own right is a collation of lots of other people's work. So I don't pertain to have any particular ego around these particular documents, because at the end of the day, they're a collaborative effort. Obviously, at the same token, if people have information related to Fokker production, Fokker photographs, or anything else that we have in the archive, then I'd welcome any additions and collaborations. Equally, I'm quite happy to share any of this information with anybody else, because at the end of the day, this helps people to understand and educate them as to what's going on within the Fokker works. So I thank you for your attention.